To Weekend Edition. With the internet and social networks becoming more popular thing among the island's youth and youth around the country and the world, the U.S. Attorney's Office is doing its part to educate the community about possibility of cybercrime. Joining us now is U.S. Attorney for Guam and the CNMI, Alicia Limtiaco. Hi, well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
So
Nick.
who do you have here with us as well to speak about cybercrime and some of the warnings that the community should know about?
I have James Silver. He is a trial attorney with the Computer Crime and Intellectual Property section of the Department of Justice. And Mr. Silver was also, previous to being a trial attorney with the Computer Crime and Intellectual Property section, a trial attorney with the Child Exploitation Obscenity section, also with the Department of Justice.
All right. Thanks for joining us, James.
Half a day.
All right, so tell us, what are some things that the community and people should know about, specifically parents, when their child is using the internet or using these social networks, seeing as we're seeing more of a problem with cybercrime?
Well, I think that parents should think about their kids' online interactions the same way they think about their kids' offline interactions. They should know who their kids' friends are online and offline. And so that might mean thinking about getting to know how their kids are using computers and cell phones, which also have a lot of these functionalities. Maybe having the family computer in a place where everyone can see it, where everyone can see what everyone else is doing. Thinking about or monitoring what their kids are doing with mobile phones, because mobile phones have really powerful social networking applications already now. And kids can meet people through their mobile phones. They can certainly do that. Knowing who these people are, who their kids are talking to, I think is a big part of it, and kind of being, you know, having age-appropriate rules about who they can talk to and for how long and in what way.
Okay. Can you give us an example of a scenario? What is cybercrime?
Well, cybercrime is a general category that would include crimes committed online, not only against children, but also crimes like identity theft, crimes against banks, crimes involving account identifiers, passwords, credit cards. An example of cybercrime would be an internet criminal, possibly in another country, finding a website that contained a lot of credit card numbers and breaking into that website and taking those credit card numbers, and usually what's done is they would be sold to someone else who would monetize them by basically taking those numbers and running up charges. So that's a pretty run-of-the-mill example of cybercrime.
What are some things that people can do? I know we have a lot of interested online shoppers out there, and that's where a lot of people purchase things nowadays is online. What can they do to prevent from being a victim?
Be careful who you're doing business with online. If it's a company you already trust, that might be a good place to start. But inquire into what kind of security practices they have online, how they secure your information. Sometimes with your credit card, you can actually create a one-time alias for a credit card number that will be a sort of a one-off alias that if someone was able to hack into the database where that number was stored, it couldn't actually be used again. It wouldn't be traceable back to your original credit card number. So that's one way to protect yourself. Another is to avoid or monitor your credit history. You can go to annualcreditreport.com is actually a website where you get the free credit report once a year. It's not freecreditreport.com, which is widely advertised, which is unfortunate. But
right.
You can go there once a year and get a free credit report. You can look for suspicious charges you don't recognize. People should also keep an eye out for bills they might receive they don't recognize, or on the other hand, should keep an eye out for bills they expect but don't receive. That could be a sign that someone hacked into their account information online and sent a bill somewhere else, so that when they run up charges in their card, the true card holder isn't going to get the bill. So it's really kind of a monitoring process that people want to put in place.
Okay, so U.S. Attorney Limtiaco, what efforts are going on now locally and in the CNMI to combat this?
Well, both in Guam and in the CNMI, Nick, we have conducted training with law enforcement, both local and federal, with Mr. Silver. And we conducted training on cybercrime, on cyber privacy issues, as well as cyber ethics. We've also had discussions with law enforcement who have had some training in computer forensics and investigative skills involving computers and digital equipment, and talked about task force efforts because we have limited resources here on the ground. It's very important to identify who have been trained, in what type of training they've received, and also to identify what type of hardware and software that we have here, again, in our islands. And from there, we can look at any additional training that's necessary, look at any additional equipment or hardware and software that's necessary, and also create a structure, a quality control, quality assurance structure, so that all of our law enforcement who are part of this task force will also have access to the Department of Justice resources, such as where James also is working in the computer crime and intellectual property section, and in the child exploitation obscenity section, being able to have access to experts who have done this for many years.
I'm sure there's some serious criminal charges for anyone that is that does these type of crimes out there. Can you tell us what are some of the possibilities that people can be charged with when doing this?
Yes, well, there's a variety of charges depending on, of course, the facts and the investigation and the evidence. It can range from anywhere from possession of child pornography, distribution of child pornography. We have had and received referrals on cyber stalking related cases. There is computer fraud, a variety of computer fraud offenses. And so, again, there can be also other types of offenses that may not necessarily, where the computer is used as a tool. There are, of course, identity theft related charges, money laundering, where many times people use computers or technology to assist in facilitating their transactions. So a whole host of charges.
Oh, is there anywhere that people can go if they want to learn more about cyber crimes and tips that they can do to avoid being a victim?
Well, there's certainly a number of different resources. The Department of Justice also has websites that speak to cybercrime, what it is. We also know that there are other agencies, the U.S. Department of Public Health, we also know has tips. There are also other types of organizations, NetSmarts, the National Center for Missing, Exploited, and Exploited Children. These are all examples of organizations that have websites that talk about dangers and safety tips that are appropriate for everyone, whether we're talking children or adults.
Okay, unfortunately we're running out of time, but real quick, tell us about this upcoming training that we're having with civil rights.
Yes, Guam will have its first civil rights training on September 6th and 7th at the Sheraton Laguna Hotel. This is a training where the first part we will have a commemoration ceremony on the 10th anniversary of September 11th to honor and remember all of our fallen heroes and those who continue to serve to protect all of us. We will also then have, again, the Civil Rights Conference, which will involve what we call an overview of hate crimes laws, which were enacted excuse me, in October of 2009, and also an overview of color of law and human trafficking. We will also discuss immigration laws, benefits, process, and so again, all in the context of civil rights and ensuring that there is enforcement by all of us that have this responsibility.
Oh, sounds very informative. Well, thank you both for your time.
Right,
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Stay